Welcome back. Today we are right outside of the Chalmette Battlefield, and I'm standing in front of the Kentucky Rifle Historical Marker. So this long rifle was developed in the 18th century. The Kentucky Rifle was a highly accurate, long-barreled firearm that became iconic in early American history. And you can see right here on the historical marker, it was produced mainly in Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, and Tennessee. It became known as the Kentucky Rifle after the popular song, "The Hunters of Kentucky," commemorating its use by Kentucky troops in the 1815 Battle of New Orleans. So let's go check out the little museum here on the grounds of the Chalmette Battlefield, and I'll show you one of the long rifles they have in there. And then stay tuned. I'll give you the full history and rundown of the long rifle, better known as the Kentucky Rifle. Inside the museum at the Chalmette Battlefield, there's a case with 3 firearms in it. To the far left here is a musket stamped Springfield 1809. Another musket in the middle, and to the far right is a long rifle stamped T. Kettling. Thomas Kettling and Company was a firearms manufacturer founded in Birmingham, England around 1760. Thomas Kettling Sr. was a highly successful Birmingham gunmaker. He started his business around 1760 and expanded into the export market around 1790. W. Kettling was Thomas Kettling Sr.'s eldest son. He was originally a partner alongside his father and William Walker. They produced flintlock pistols, long guns to include rifles and muskets. Their work was noted for fine craftsmanship and decoration. Many of their guns were exported, especially to North America, including trade guns for the fur trade, pistols for trade with Native Americans. So I'm standing at the spot where batteries 5 and 6 were, and you can see out there, that's the battlefield, and pretty good distance away from the river, where you can see on this map. So the river, Mississippi River, is back that way. So this sort of ties into the long rifle or the Kentucky Rifle. And here at batteries 5 and 6, which would have been situated along this line right out here, it says batteries 5 and 6, the troops here were Carroll's Tennessee Militia, the Kentucky Militia, and the U.S. Artillery Corps. So, you know, if these guys came down from Kentucky, which they did, they marched down here, and what this is saying is that many of those guys, more than a third of these militiamen from Kentucky, came down without any rifles or even, you know, proper clothing for the fight. The Kentucky Militia, led by General John Adair, reinforced this section. Nearly a third of these men had arrived in New Orleans without weapons or winter clothes, but outfitted by the city's residents. That's pretty interesting because, I mean, I'd have to imagine that the guys that did come from Kentucky had a long rifle, a Kentucky rifle or Pennsylvania rifle, long rifle, whatever you want to call it. And then, of course, they took part in this battle, fought courageously, and, you know, then legend has it that the Kentucky Rifle was sort of born here on this battlefield. And most of the fighting that took place with Kentucky rifles was arguably right here where I'm walking right now, in between this cannon and this cannon here. Long, sleek, and deadly accurate, the Kentucky Rifle wasn't just a hunting weapon. It was the frontier's answer to war, and at the Battle of New Orleans, it became legend. The story of the Kentucky Rifle begins not in Kentucky, but in the forests and towns of early 18th century Pennsylvania. Immigrant gunsmiths, mostly Germans, brought their craftsmanship to the New World. Adapting European designs, they created something uniquely American, a long, rifled barrel firearm built for precision and range. Unlike the smoothbore muskets of the day, the Kentucky rifle had spiral grooves, rifling inside the barrel. This gave the bullet spin and accuracy well beyond 200 yards. Typical rifles were over 4 feet long with barrels measuring 40 to 48 inches. They fired a 45 to 54 caliber round ball, deadly in the hands of a skilled marksman. These rifles weren't mass-produced. They were works of art. Gunsmiths like Jacob Dickert, Martin Malin, and John Philip Beck made their names crafting these tools of survival. By the late 1700s, the rifle had spread beyond Pennsylvania to Virginia, the Carolinas, and of course, Kentucky. So why call it the Kentucky rifle? Because of where it made its name on the battlefield. Though originally called the long rifle or Pennsylvania rifle, it was after the War of 1812, especially the Battle of New Orleans, that the name Kentucky rifle stuck. January 8th, 1815, New Orleans, American troops, militia, and frontiersmen prepared to defend the city against a British force twice their size. Among them, riflemen from Kentucky and Tennessee. They brought no standard issue muskets, only their personal long rifles and unmatched aim. From behind earthen ramparts, they picked off British officers at 200 yards. In just over 30 minutes, the British suffered reportedly 2,000 casualties. American losses, fewer than 100. The long rifle never became a standard military weapon. It was slow to reload and required skill, but in the right hands, it turned hunters into heroes. It symbolized the American frontier, resourceful, resilient, and deadly accurate. And though it began in Pennsylvania, it earned its name on the field of New Orleans. The Kentucky rifle, not just a weapon, but a legend of American independence.